I want you to think about what pieces of media scared you as a kid. Really think about it, and think about if it's still scary. There's a good chance that whatever you thought of isn't something that's really all that scary now, especially if you're an adult. There's nothing wrong with that, and I actually think it's interesting to see how our fears change as we get older. But still, 9 times out of 10, for me at least, when I think back to what scared me as a kid, it's something mundane. Sure, sometimes I was scared by actual pieces of horror media, or things that were meant to be scary, but I was also afraid of a dragon puppet from a Baby Sensory video. I've always found it enjoyable to reminisce on the silly things that scared me as a kid, especially when it's something that seems to be a shared fear with people my age. It's for this reason that I've already made 2 videos going over my childhood trauma, and tonight, I'd like to go over some more of my childhood fears, one last time. If you've seen my other 2 videos, you already know how this is going to work. I'm going to just list stuff that scared or spooked me, briefly explain it, and go over my history with the piece of media, and then move on to the next thing. I'm going to separate this into 3 categories: games, movies and TV, and finally, YouTube and the internet. If you're Gen Z like me, there's a decent chance that some of these things scared you, but I am also going to be getting a lot more obscure and personal with what I'm talking about here. Also, at the end of the video, I'm going to be going over one piece of media from each category that I found to be the most interesting, or I couldn't fit it into the category properly. You'll see what I mean by that later. Now, before we begin, I have 2 things I want to get out of the way. First, as I said a moment ago, this is going to be the final episode in this series. I'm not going to stop talking about childhood trauma anytime soon, but whenever I go over this topic again, it'll be in a different way. Second, as always, if you enjoy this video, please do leave a like and subscribe, as it really helps me out. But now, without further ado, let's dive into one last look at some childhood trauma. As usual, I'm going to start off with some Nintendo games, and since I started with Mario and Luigi the last 2 times, I think this time I'll start off with Wario. Wario Land 4 is one of my favorite platformer games. I think it's a highly underrated game, and despite never owning it myself, I still hold it in high regard. Despite my enjoyment of the game now, and despite how much fun I had with it back in the day, there was one thing that creeped me out: the time limit. If you've never played Wario Land 4, at the end of every level, you hit a switch and are forced to run back to the start before time runs out. This isn't really scary in and of itself, but the music that plays unnerved me a lot back in the day. Looking back on it, I think it's really just the beginning of the song that scared me. The rest of it is pretty normal. In fact, it's actually kind of a banger, but the start with those distorted bells, I think, feels pretty ominous and unnerving. This is also how the boss theme starts. And on the topic of the bosses in this game, let's take a look at the first. Spoiled Rotten. I honestly don't even really know what the hell this thing is, but I remember seeing it as a kid and being terrified, even though this is legitimately one of the most pathetic bosses I've ever seen. Anyway, Wario Land 4 is still a great game, and definitely one of Wario's greatest achievements.
Look, it's one of my greatest achievements.
I'm going to stick with non-horror games for a minute, since I have a few things to talk about. The first is Doom, specifically for the SNES. Stick with me for a moment. As a little kid, and I mean really little, we're talking like 4 years old here, I was given an SNES and a bunch of games as a hand-me-down from my uncle. I remember looking through the games, and seeing a red cartridge in between all the others, and I was told to never play it. I wasn't sure what could possibly be so bad about it. I mean, the cover art didn't look that scary, but the idea of this game, whatever Doom was, being outright banned because it was too scary, was enough to frighten me, and so I never touched it. Of course, I did eventually play Doom years later, and now it's one of my favorite series, and I also learned that the SNES port is one of the worst versions of the game. Maybe that's the real reason I was banned from playing it. Sticking with pseudo Nintendo games for a moment, I want to talk about No More Heroes. I've had a passing interest in the No More Heroes series for a while now, but it wasn't until earlier this year when I actually got around to playing the first game. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about one of the bosses from the second game that I remember terrifying me when I first heard about it in some old random top 10 video. I used to watch a lot of videos like that back in the day, usually Nintendo related, and I remember watching one, maybe like top 10 scariest enemies in non-horror games or something, that had this guy in it. Matt Helms from No More Heroes 2 is a ghostly pyromaniac who made a pact with the devil as a child. He's a clear homage to both Japanese and American horror tropes, a ghost child combined with a slasher villain, and that's reflected in his two designs. The one in the boss fight is this hulking man with a baby face, though honestly this one never scared me that much. Matt's design after the fight is what scared me, as he's a bloody, naked child who whispers, "I'm gonna kill you." To be honest, I still find Matt Helms to be a genuinely creepy design, though now it's partially because of how the No More Heroes games are shaded on the Wii. The cell shading hides some of the model, making Matt Helms, especially in his child form, a whole lot creepier in my opinion. Finally, for non-horror games, I want to talk about Minecraft horror. And I don't mean any of this newfangled cave dweller shit. I mean real Minecraft horror. You know, like Herobrine? I actually have a funny story with Herobrine. I never really found him scary since I always knew it was just a fake creepypasta, but I remember watching, I think, a Peanut Butter Gamer video about him? Whatever it was, that video for some reason creeped me out, but I always kept coming back to it. But Herobrine isn't actually what I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about a Minecraft horror map I saw DanTDM play back in the day. The map is called Grief, and looking back at the DanTDM video, this shit is ass. You need to remember though, I was probably about 10 years old when I saw this. I was still afraid of stupid shit like Sonic.exe back then, so a jump scare of a bloody Steve was obviously going to scare me. I will give this map one thing. The build up to that bloody Steve jump scare I just mentioned isn't actually that bad. The darkness combined with the static is legitimately a bit creepy, though it is still Minecraft, so it's a little hard to take seriously. As much as I'd love to keep talking about Minecraft horror maps, since I watched a lot of videos about them back in the day, I'm going to leave it here. All these maps basically just boil down to jump scares anyway, and 99% of the time they aren't even scary. Sure as hell didn't stop me from being scared as a kid though. Minecraft Gangnam Style jump scare. Okay, I think it's time to move on to some actual horror games. I only have a couple to talk about, starting with Resident Evil. I'm going to keep this brief since I've already gone over Resident Evil in this series, but I somehow forgot to mention the cutscene of the first zombie in Resident Evil 1. I don't remember where exactly I first saw it, but like I've mentioned before, I had a huge fear of zombies as a kid, so obviously I did not like seeing this. For the record though, I am talking about the remake version. I'm sure I would have been scared of the original too, but while I still find the remake version to be decently creepy, the original is goofy as hell now. Next up is... okay, I don't know if Manhunt actually counts as a horror game, but I've always considered it to at least be horror adjacent, so I think it fits well enough here. I never really knew much about Manhunt as a game until a few years ago, but I remember in some random video hearing about the Pigsy Easter egg in Bully, and for some reason it really freaked me out. I assume the video must have shown Pigsy's design, because I don't think the Easter egg itself would have scared me, since it's just chainsaw and pig noises. Okay, wait. On the topic of Rockstar, I want to briefly mention the Heart of the City from GTA 4. I know that's not remotely a horror game, but when else am I going to be able to bring this up? This is just a creepy ass Easter egg, which the GTA series is no stranger to, and I only know about this from some random ass top 10 creepy Easter eggs video. I really can't stress enough how many top 10 videos I watched back in the day. Moving back to horror games, I want to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's, specifically the first game. Now, I have talked about FNAF in this series before, but it was such a throwaway section that I feel I should go over it again. I've already gone over my history with the series, starting off by avoiding anything FNAF related because of how scary I thought the designs of the animatronics were, then watching a Let's Play, probably Markiplier's, then getting into game theory videos, and finally becoming a huge fan of the series up until FNAF 4, where I stopped paying attention. Truth be told, I never really found the designs of the animatronics post FNAF 1 scary. The only exception is Springtrap, though that's actually a recent development. I originally thought he looked somewhat stupid, and it was only a few years ago where I realized you could see William Afton's rotting corpse inside of him, and he became scary to me. Not like shit my pants in fear scary, but I do think he has an effectively creepy design. Anyway, FNAF 1 has the creepiest animatronics to me because they look so real. I could totally see these being actual animatronics somewhere, and that's the scariest part to me. Designs like the toys, nightmares, or god forbid the glam rock animatronics just look too much like video game characters to me, but the originals don't. There's also that creepy ass game over screen from the first game, the "It's me" image that flashes on screen, Golden Freddy. Okay, honestly, Golden Freddy is kind of hilarious to me now, and the death scream. That damn scream. It haunted my nightmares as a kid, and whenever I would listen to the Living Tombstone Five Nights at Freddy's song, I'd always skip the end where the scream played. Sticking with creepy songs for a minute, I have 3 I want to talk about, all from horror or horror-adjacent games. The first is Jesus Loves Me from The Binding of Isaac, alongside Jesus Loves You from its remake. These are both creepy versions of Christian songs, and Jesus Loves Me especially creeped me out back in the day, due to how distorted it is. I honestly don't really have much more to add to this, though honestly, Binding of Isaac as a whole could have been in this video. Isaac has always unnerved me due to its subject matter, though I've grown to have an appreciation for it over the years. Next, I want to talk about the playrooms from Shadow Man. I still hate listening to this. Obviously, you're not really supposed to enjoy listening to this. It's in the same camp as the music from Postal's loading screens to me, where it's music that's meant to be creepy, and while it excels as that, it's not really something you can just listen to. For a bit more context, this song plays in an asylum level of the game that's for some reason themed around a kid's room. The part that really scared me was all the sound effects, specifically the drilling, screaming, and the sounds of what I think might be someone getting eaten alive. I'll go over why I'm aware of this song in just a moment, as I learned of both this song and the next from the same place. The next song is from Cry of Fear. I've yet to actually play Cry of Fear, but spoilers for the game, it ends with you literally fighting yourself. Hence, the name of the song that's playing right now. The song is distorted crying and wailing, complete with a man screaming to, the man presumably being the protagonist of the game, Simon. Like the playrooms from Shadow Man, this song is meant to be unnerving. It reminds me a lot of the final boss theme from Silent Hill 1, My Heaven, though I find that song to be more annoying than anything. Now, I mentioned a moment ago that I learned of the Shadow Man playrooms from the same place that I learned of the Cry of Fear song. The entire reason for me knowing about these weird, creepy-ass songs is a YouTube playlist by Alex Rochon, or as I knew him back then, the Autarch of Flame. If that name sounds familiar to you, it's because he's a voice actor now, most known as the voice of Kane from The Amazing Digital Circus. What you may not know, though, is he started out as a top 10 YouTuber back in the day, and I watched his videos a lot. Remember how I mentioned learning about Matt Helms through a top 10 video? It was probably one of his. So, moral of the story I guess is don't watch top 10 videos because they're gonna give you childhood trauma. Lastly, I want to talk about one game that means a lot to me, but scared the shit out of me as a kid. Twilight Princess is one of my favorite Zelda games, and that's in no small part due to the weird, creepy atmosphere of the game. It's easily the darkest game in the Zelda series, and had several things that creeped me out back in the day. The Red Dead Knights, Zant and his theme song, the Uka, Blizetta's jump scare, and the Dark Link cutscene. I'll go over this one in a bit more detail, since this is what I actually wanted to talk about. In this cutscene, we're shown how the Twilight race got banished to the Twilight Realm, and I called it the Dark Link cutscene because Dark Link makes a cameo here. What really scared me though, was the eyeless Link that screams at the camera. That, the constantly speeding up music, and the bit at the end where a bunch of clones of the character Ilya fall down and laugh really terrified me when I first saw this cutscene. I actually remember being so afraid that I stopped playing the game for a while after this, and it wasn't until years later that I finally went back and finished the game. Despite having so many creepy things though, Twilight Princess still holds a special place in my heart. Maybe one day I'll go over it in more detail, but for now, I'm going to stop things here. Starting off, I'd like to talk about some movies. The first is Pee-wee's Big Adventure, specifically the scene with Large Marge. Looking at this again now, it's honestly really goofy, but seeing this when I was, 5, really freaked me out. Next, I'd like to briefly go over the Dark Crystal, as like FNAF from earlier, this is something that I kind of just had as a throwaway in the first video. I'm not really sure why, as there's a lot I could have talked about here. My love for the movie, the Skeksis dinner scene, the Skeksis in general, and the uncanny valley of the main characters. These were all things that creeped me out, though like I said a moment ago, I still loved it. It's probably been over a decade since I last watched The Dark Crystal, so frankly, I'm not sure how much I'd like it now, but despite being one of the scariest movies I saw as a little kid, I still kept coming back to it. Sticking with creepy kids movies, Scooby-Doo Zombie Islands. This one's not that deep, I've already mentioned my childhood fear of zombies, and can you guess what's in this movie? It's cat ladies. Yeah, those scared me too, I'm not gonna lie. Moving on to some horror movies, I only have 3 I want to talk about. The first is the Psycho shower scene. I've still not actually watched this movie, but for some reason I was told about, or maybe even shown this scene as a kid. I have a super vague memory of a family member showing me this, and I wish I could say more, but I mean this is a pretty well-known scene from a well-known movie. I was scared of a scene that was meant to be scary, really not much more I could add. As for some horror movies I have a little more to say about, Saw scared me more because of the concept than anything. I mean, I did also find the Billy puppet scary, since I, to this day, find dolls and puppets to be kind of creepy, but it was mostly the concept. The idea that you could be kidnapped for basically no reason and forced into an almost inescapable death trap where you die gruesomely was not something I liked thinking about as a kid. And honestly, I still don't like thinking about it now. At least now I have the knowledge that the Saw movies kind of suck, and I'm sure if I did watch one, I'd be more focused on that, but I'd rather watch good movies instead. Finally, I'd like to talk about The Purge, specifically Election Year. Now, I've never seen this movie, and like Saw, I'll probably keep it that way since I've not heard great things about it. Regardless of the actual quality of the film though, The Purge scared me again because of its concept. The idea of one night a year where all crime, including murder, was legal really scared me, especially since I thought it was real. Why did I think this? I don't know, I was a dumb kid and thought fucking Jeff the Killer was real. This isn't that crazy in comparison. I remember specifically thinking that the release date of the movie was the day the actual purge was going to happen, so anytime I'd see the ads play on YouTube, which was multiple times a day every single day, I'd get scared all over again. And I only realized how stupid I was until after the movie came out, and nothing happened. I'm going to switch over to talking about TV now, starting with regular show, specifically the episode Terror Tales of the Park. I remember catching this when it aired back in the day, and the moment that specifically scared me was when Muscle Man got skinned alive by the wizard. I didn't even really care about the rest of the scene, where the other characters get killed by the invisible wizard. I was mostly just spooked by the flayed Muscle Man. Now for this next bit, I'd like to talk less about specific TV shows or episodes, and talk about some creepy characters. Starting with Ratafak Plachka from the Czechoslovakian show Slenečko. And I mean, do I even need to explain this one? he just looks creepy, and the way he moves is uncanny. I first learned of him from a Blame It on Jorge video, though I was later exposed to Ratifact via this video called Angel by the channel GG. I will say though, I do remember being a lot less scared of Ratifact after learning his origins from a different Blame It on Jorge video, and I can totally see why he's beloved in his home country. The next two characters I want to talk about I also learned about from that old Blame It on Jorge video, those being Mr. Nosybonk and Mr. Blobby. I'll start with Blobby since honestly I never found him scary. I totally get why some people would, but I don't. From the little bits I've seen of him, he's just annoying. And while his smile is kind of creepy, I think Nosybonk is far creepier. Like, come on man, he looks like a fucking horror movie villain. Now, I will say researching this segment was hard. I was only able to find a few clips of his original appearances, those being from a British show called Jigsaw, but I was able to find plenty of creepypastas alongside something called Nosybonk Returns, where he's presented in a much more horrifying light. I also found this clip where he knifes you.
And knife you, and knife you, and knife you, and knife you.
From what I've been able to find though, Nosybonk isn't that creepy outside of his design. I mean, if I was a kid I sure as hell wouldn't want to look at, much less be around him. But I guess some of these British children were built different. Going back to actual TV shows that scared me now, I got 3 more to talk about. Mr. Pickles, Ren and Stimpy, and Mr. Meaty. I'll start with Mr. Pickles since that's the odd one out here. This was an Adult Swim show about a satanic dog named, well, Mr. Pickles, and the whole joke of the show was how gross it was. Truth be told, I never watched this show until now. I just saw clips of it somewhere. I don't remember where to be honest. But wherever it was, I hated seeing it. Both because of how disturbing it was, and because of how ugly and terrible it is. I have no issue with over-the-top violence now, but I prefer when there's a bit more substance to it, you know? From what I've seen, violence is all Mr. Pickles has going on. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe the show's not that bad, but from my admittedly very minimal research, it seems like that's all that's really going on here. Keeping on topic with over-the-top gross-out humor, Ren and Stimpy has always been off-putting to me. Obviously that's somewhat intentional, but I don't know, I always just got a bad vibe from the show whenever I'd watch it, and I'm honestly shocked I never brought it up in this series before. If you want any specific examples of what scared me, Happy Happy Joy Joy, the gross close-ups, and the end of the episode Sven Hoek, where Ren describes dismembering Sven and Stimpy in brutal detail, were what immediately put me off the show. I thankfully never saw the Adult Party cartoon, but had I seen it, I'm sure I would have been even more traumatized. Lastly for this section, Mr. Meaty is a show I've actually never watched, but I've been disturbed by it ever since I first heard about it. Really, it was just the puppets that creeped me out. Well, that and the scene where an Australian man eats a tapeworm, but after looking into it more, I kinda like it. I lied a moment ago when I said I've never watched it, because I did watch a few episodes in preparation for this video, and honestly, Mr. Meaty's funny. I'm not gonna lie and say it's the greatest show of all time or anything, but I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would, gross out humor and all. Had I actually watched Mr. Meaty as a kid, I think this section would be a lot different, as not only would I have more examples of scary things, besides one scene everybody's already talked about, but I'd also have the experience of watching and enjoying Mr. Meaty before this. From what I did watch though, I saw a creepy looking blue old man puppet that while being a bit funny looking, definitely would have creeped me out. Sticking with Nickelodeon for a second, I want to talk about some logos which scared me. I've already gone over the THX logo, which was only scary because of how loud it was, so I'd like to instead go over some with a bit more substance. First is a Klasky Csupo logo, which I first found via either the Nickelodeon websites or Scratch. Yes, I'm serious. I might have been exposed to this from Scratch, the children's programming sites. I was an avid Scratch user back in the day, making bad animations and games, and I remember one day coming across a project, think of projects as basically being the equivalent of a YouTube video, of the Klasky Csupo logo, and for some reason it terrified me. What makes this funnier is I think it might have been one of those logo variation things, so it probably wasn't even the actual logo. If it was a variation, I don't remember what it was, but knowing Scratch and that whole weird logo variation community, it was either some creepypasta shit, or it was just like, I don't know, inverted colors. Regardless, this one is just funny looking back on it, and these days, I find the logo to be charming. Next up is the B&D logo, which I'll let speak for itself. Now, obviously, I never saw this one myself. Surprisingly, I did not grow up in 1990s Russia, so my only exposure to this has been in videos talking about scary logos. Truth be told, I'm only including the B&D logo because I feel like I have to include it in a discussion about scary logos, because it is frightening. I mean, not to me because I'm an adult, but if I did see this as a kid, I would have been absolutely terrified. You know what logo did scare me as a kid though? That damn monkey from Jimmy Neutron.
Hi, I'm Paul.
Now, I will say, I think Paul is funny now. I enjoy his presence. But as a kid, I hated seeing him at the end of every Jimmy Neutron episode, and I think that made me avoid the show for the most part, even though I liked it. Honestly, I'm not even sure why exactly I was freaked out by him. My best guess is the third eye he has, but that seems like such a minor thing for me to be scared of. I don't know, I was a dumb kid, and that was probably enough for me back then. Lastly for this section, I'd like to go over one of my favorite movies of all time, Princess Mononoke. If I went over my adoration for this movie, we'd be here all night, so I'm going to keep this to the point. In the film's opening, there's a demonic boar creature named Nago, who I found to be terrifying as a kid. He was so scary that I couldn't finish the movie past this scene, and it wasn't until years later that I finally ended up watching it in full. And since then, it's become my favorite Studio Ghibli movie, and one of my absolute favorites of all time. Unlike a lot of what I've covered thus far, I do understand why this scared me so much. Nago looks creepy, especially in his more demonic form, and the violence on display in Mononoke is higher than any other Ghibli movie I've seen, and it was definitely too much for me at roughly 6 years old. Oh, and that's not even mentioning how he turns into a rotting skeleton when he dies. I don't know if I'd ever seen that part as a kid, but that's actually kind of creepy, especially to someone as young as I was when I first tried to watch Mononoke. Thankfully, Nago's terrifying introduction wasn't enough to prevent me from enjoying the movie later in life. In fact, it did the opposite. I love and appreciate the way he's animated, and his curse being the inciting incident of the plot is great. I'm getting too off topic though. As much as I'd love to keep gushing about Princess Mononoke, that's not what this video is about. This video is about things that scared me as a kid, and I think it's time we move on to talking about some stuff from YouTube and the internets. Right after this break. I'm going to start by talking about some old ghost videos, since this is a topic I've wanted to cover for a while, yet for some reason never have. I'm not going to lie to you and say I saw every single ghost video from back in the day, but the main ones I remember scaring me were Body of a Pig, this one of a ghost girl in a cemetery that I believe is from Mexico, 2 videos of Japanese ghosts, this one of a little girl's reflection, and this one of a girl falling in front of a train. On the topic of that train video, I recently found out that this is from a movie called Ura Horror, which I haven't watched for myself yet, but I'll be honest, I suspected this was from a movie for years. It's shot way too perfectly to just be a regular YouTube video, and I'm honestly shocked people are only just now talking about it being from a movie, at least in the West. Back to the topic of ghost videos. The last one I wanted to mention was that Fallen Angel video, which was actually an ad for something if I remember correctly. As much as I'd like to go into detail on all of these videos, I'm probably going to talk about old ghost videos sometime in the near future, so I'll just leave it at this. These videos all scared me because I was a dumb kid who didn't know they were fake, even though they're all pretty obviously fake. That doesn't stop me from enjoying them now though. I love stupid old ghost videos. Moving over to other YouTube videos, I'd like to briefly mention a video that never personally scared me, but I feel like I have to bring it up. Yelling Creature. Now, I totally get why this scared some people. It's a weird video, but honestly, I think this is funny. I always have. The Yelling Creature just looks like a Koopa Troopa to me, and ever since I realized that, I haven't been able to see this video as anything other than a Koopa yelling in fear as Mario's about to stomp on them. Again though, I get it. I was scared by far stupider things as a kid, such as Mariana Mordegard Glesgorf. If you're unfamiliar, this is an old creepypasta video that's literally just a photo of a red guy. According to the creepypasta, the video isn't viewable by normal means, and if you do find it, you're not even able to view the full thing. That's because if you do watch the full video, you gouge your eyes out and end your own life. All because of a red guy and some high-pitched noises. I have no goddamn clue why this scared me so bad as a kid. Mariana Mordegard Glesgorf is such a stupid, shitty creepypasta, but I still love it for how dumb it is. Especially the video. Sticking with creepypasta videos for a second, the Candle Cove Screaming episode. This is another one that honestly I just find kind of hilarious now. Candle Cove is a story that I think still actually holds up mostly well today, but the idea that there was an episode that was just screaming is really stupid in my opinion, and it makes it hard to take the rest of the story seriously. In the video that serves as a recreation of the aforementioned screaming episode, hilarious. Still absolutely horrified me as a kid though. Going back to regular, non-creepypasta related YouTube videos now, there's this one video that I've been meaning to talk about in this series, but haven't. The video is called Happy Meal, and it's a short film about a businessman being hunted down by a vampire Ronald McDonald. It's completely ridiculous, and it doesn't even take itself remotely seriously, but this still scared the shit out of me when I was around 8 years old. I wish I could say more about this, but like, I don't know, I feel this is a little self-explanatory. It's a video of a vampire Ronald McDonald hunting and killing somebody. I feel like it's not that absurd that it scared me as a kid. Next, I'd like to briefly mention Treats for Beasts. And this is another one that frankly, I don't feel like I need to explain much. If you haven't seen this guy's videos before, they're really weird and off-putting, and have a lot of religious themes. One of his most well-known videos is just called Beasts, and features these green guys who sing about their jobs. There was one video in particular, which I was terrified of back in the day, that being I Love Jesus, which had these creepy whispering text-to-speech voices talking about how they do horrible acts in Jesus' name. There were other videos I saw of course, like Who Wants to Gnaw on Human Bones, but if I went over every video we'd be here all day. And if I'm being honest, I don't really care for Treats for Beasts. I think his videos are just kind of okay. I don't hate them or anything, I just don't really get anything out of them. As for an old school weird and creepy YouTube channel,
say that again?
That I do like, then let's take a look at Ben Wheel. You might not recognize that name, but if you frequented the weird side of YouTube back in the day, you're familiar with his work. He's the artist behind such classics like Henry Eats and Val Val Val, though my favorite video of his is a more recent one called Top 5 Animation Containers. That video is far too recent to be included here, but I highly recommend checking it out, as it's absolutely hilarious, yet a bit unnerving. Back to the older videos though. Henry Eats is the video I remember watching as a kid, and I remember looking at Henry gave me actual nightmares as a kid. At least, I think this is Henry. Maybe this is Henry actually? Or this is? I don't know, all three of these guys are creepy as hell, but the one in the thumbnail legit gave me some nightmares as a kid. I don't remember the details unfortunately, but I do remember that happening. Still though, despite how badly this video scared me as a kid, it's one of my absolute favorite horror animations on YouTube, and I can't recommend it enough. Please check it out if you haven't already. Next up, I'd like to briefly mention Real Demons Caught on Tape. This is a really short horror film with a bunch of hands coming out of the ceiling and walls, and while it does end with a stupid looking hand monster, I still think it's overall a great little piece of horror today. It's held up surprisingly well visually, and the idea of hands coming out of every inch of your room is absolutely horrifying. Unfortunately though, I can't really say much else about it, because this is the entire video. What you see is what you get, but at least what you get is pretty good. There's a few more YouTube related things I want to talk about, but let's move over to the internet side of things for a bit. First is Lomando.com, which I remember first encountering via a Mudahar Some Ordinary Gamers video. This is a Japanese site which describes itself as a haunted house, and I'd say that's a pretty accurate description. After the initial cute appearance is dropped, you're put into, well, a haunted house. You then have to explore and find the exit or something? Honestly, I'm not entirely sure what the goal is. It's all pretty vague, and when I was playing it, I was paying more attention to the exploration aspects. I just remember the goofy jump scares scaring me as a kid, though now I find them funny. Honestly, Lomando might need its own video at some point, because I spent way too long playing it while writing this brief segment. Let's go over some creepy images next, as I have two I want to talk about: Dollface.jpg and Smile Dog. I'll start with Smile Dog since this one's a little more well known, and really I was more afraid of the creepypasta it was tied to. As a little kid, I genuinely believed that Smile Dog was real, and I remember seeing Smile Dog in my dreams for a while after first hearing the story. Of course, I soon realized it wasn't real, though for years up until very recently, I still couldn't look at the Smile Dog image because of how much it used to scare me. Not this image though. I mean this image. Looking at it again now, it's kind of silly looking, but that didn't stop me from being absolutely horrified by it as a kid. Now, as for Dollface.jpg, or as I once knew it, a Henobarbus Henocide, I have unfortunately very little to talk about. I mean, again, this is kind of self-explanatory. It's a creepy ass face put on an already creepy looking doll. What more could I really talk about? I could go over the admittedly interesting origin, but it basically just started as a Japanese version of those old copypastas that were like, share this image with 5 people or you'll die tonight. I could go over the Gurgles and Bugman creepypasta that used the image, but I never found that scary, and always thought it sucked. Really all that's left for me to cover is a Henobarbus Henocide, which was this weird Facebook account that used the image back in the day. If I remember correctly, they posted gore videos or some stupid shit like that, though according to my research, they also DM'd people with strange coordinates. Really, what I was scared of was the image. It's not that creepy all things considered, but I don't know. I have a bit of a soft spot for old Dollface here. Moving back to YouTube, kind of, I want to talk about that weird killer clown trend from 2016. Do you guys even remember this? I feel like I'm one of the only people that even remember this happened, as I never see anybody talk about this these days. Basically back in 2016 there were some videos, mostly on YouTube, though I think they were on other social medias as well, of some creepy clowns just being, well, creepy. And I remember there being some sort of rumor that they were gonna start killing people on Halloween. Obviously that never happened because that would be absurd, but I remember being terrified that it was going to happen. Really not much more to say about this one though, so let's move on. Now, as is tradition with these videos, I have some music videos I'd like to talk about. The first is Gorillaz' Clint Eastwood music video, which only scared me because of those zombie gorillas at the end. The rest wasn't all that frightening to me as a kid, especially since I believe I was about 12 or 13 when I first saw this. So at that point I had become a bit more numb to stuff like this, but I do remember the zombie gorillas still creeping me out a bit. Didn't stop me from enjoying the song though, and these days, this is actually one of my favorite music videos. It's great. Speaking of great music, Michael Jackson's Thriller. This is one that scared me when I was a lot younger, probably around 5 years old, and surprisingly it wasn't the zombies that freaked me out. I actually had no issues with those. I think because I didn't really understand what zombies were yet, I had issues with the dumbass cat eyes Michael Jackson gets at the end. You know, the part where Vincent Price is laughing while MJ looks at the camera? Yeah, that silly part of the video is what scared me. Look, I was 5. I was still scared of that stupid baby Einstein dragon puppets. Last up for music videos is one that I can't believe I haven't mentioned already, and that's Daft Punk's Prime Time of Your Life video. Now, let me get this out of the way. I love Daft Punk. Human After All is one of my favorite albums by them, and I actually really love another one of their creepier music videos, that being the video for Technologic, but I don't like Prime Time of Your Life. I don't know if I just genuinely don't like the song, or if I associate it too much with the video, but I remember watching this video for the first time, and it scared me so bad that I refused to listen to the song for a while. Now, what was so bad that it caused this reaction? Well, the whole video features a lot of skeletons, not too bad, and then the overweight girl in the video eventually takes a razor blade and cuts off all her skin. Then it's revealed that she was never overweight, and I guess this is all supposed to be some sort of message about how TV can harm our self-image? You know, like how models used to be borderline anorexic, hence the skeletons in the video? It's a good message, I guess, but Jesus Christ, man, what the hell were they thinking with the ending? Honestly, it is a lot less creepy now that I'm watching it again, but still, what the fuck? Lastly for this section, I want to briefly go over a strange video that I only just recently remembered. I Want That Meatball. This video is genuinely bizarre. It starts with the cartoon cat saying variations of I want that meatball, or give me that meatball, and then it cuts to this.
I want that meatball. I want that meatball.
And this would be disturbing enough, but then it abruptly cuts to a low quality video of a seemingly naked man in a pig mask, and we can hear children laughing in the background. Now, I first encountered this video I think sometime in 2013, and I'm honestly shocked I ever forgot this. This is another example of something that I still find a bit creepy now, though I do also see how this video is supposed to be funny. Personally though, I'm disturbed by it. Especially by that clip at the end, which I don't think I can even show you, because I have no idea where the hell it came from. I'm genuinely kind of worried that this is something a bit darker than it seems, though I don't think it's actually anything that sinister. Anyway, regardless of however I found this as a kid, I remember watching it, and I think clicking off around the part where the guy in the paper mask whispers, I want that meatball. I had seen my fair share of creepypasta videos at this point, but this was likely one of my first weird YouTube videos, so I had no idea how to handle this sort of thing. I Want That Meatball is a super strange video, and frankly, I don't find it surprising at all that I was scared of it. With that being said though, I think it's time to wrap things up. Let's take a look at the final 3 pieces of media that scared me. First for the segments, let's take a look at a game that I've actually talked about before, that being Sad Satan. If you're unfamiliar, Sad Satan is an alleged dark web horror game that's only been documented through a series of uploads by the YouTube channel Obscure Horror Corner. It's absurdly vague, to the point where I'm unsure what it's even about, and the horror is pretty much just, it's a dark web horror game. So, of course, that means CP. Yeah, so after the Obscure Horror Corner videos got uploaded, somebody on 4chan made a version of Sad Satan with both CP and actual gore photos. Oh, and malware too, just in case illegal content wasn't enough. Surprisingly though, this isn't actually what scared me. If I'm being honest, the thing that creeped me out with Sad Satan is just the concept of it. The idea of this illegal game that was so weird and creepy, at least if you don't actually see the gameplay videos, really terrified me when I was about 10 years old. Really is just funny now looking back on it, as I think Sad Satan, whether it's a real game or not, kind of just sucks. It's not scary, and I find its reliance on shot content to just be a stupid, annoying gimmick. The visuals are kinda cool though. Switching over to movies and TV, I want to talk about a book. That being none other than Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Earlier in the intro, when I said you'll see what I mean in relation to one of these final entries being something I couldn't fit in, this is what I meant. Regardless of how I could possibly justify this being part of the movies and TV section, I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, these drawings are still creepy to me as an adult. That's a testament to how amazing of an artist Stephen Gamble is, and it's no surprise that these illustrations aren't the most memorable part of the books. Not that the writing is bad, it's just a lot harder for me to ignore that this is a kid's book now. I actually still have a copy of the third book, and I do read it again every once in a while, but it's never really hit the same as it did when I first read the trilogy back in elementary school. I remember first reading one of the books back in 4th grade after somehow getting it from the library, no clue how it wasn't banned from our library, and while I enjoyed the stories, the images genuinely gave me fucking nightmares. Some particular standouts to me were the bride, delicious sausage, the dream, oh Susanna, and of course, the haunted house. Again, do I even need to explain why I found these illustrations scary? I can appreciate how well crafted they are now, but I still don't really want to look at them, especially the one for the bride. I remember that one scaring me a lot for some reason. Moving on to the final entry. I have a bit of a weird one. So originally this was going to be a whole segment about a video that I've been searching for the past few years, but I've been unable to find. I remember it being shown to me when I was about 5 or 6 years old by my uncle, and the content of the video was an animation of a guy who drank way too much coffee, got fat, and exploded. I remembered it being kind of graphic, a lot of brown being used in the video, and that it was possibly a music video. I was going to leave things there, but the thing about how I've searched every possible term, but I can't find any evidence this even existed, and how at this point, I wasn't sure if it even did exist. And then I found it. Yeah, so I guess I didn't just try searching up animated music video of a guy drinking coffee, because while writing the script for this section, I decided to search that exact phrase, and I found it immediately. The video is indeed a music video for the song Le Café by the singer Odala. And while I misremembered a few details, once I saw the end where the guy gets fat and explodes, I knew this was it. However, a lot of details that I thought I made up were actually part of the video. It being French, a music video, and the guy drinking absurd amounts of coffee right before dying were all things I thought I made up, but they're in the video. Watching it again now, the video is really not that scary, but you need to remember I was probably around 5 or 6 years old when I first saw this. For as humorous as the video is to me now, I can definitely see how this scared me as a kid. The whole thing has a strange atmosphere to it, and I think I was probably shown this at far too young of an age. At least now I can appreciate it for the nice animation and song, but really, I'm just happy I found it again at all. With that, that's going to be the end of this video. I've pretty much gone over every single piece of media that I can think of that scared me as a kid, and the only things that remain now, frankly, I have no interest in talking about. At least not in this format. Maybe one day I'll cover or make a childhood trauma iceberg or something of that sort, but for now, this is going to be the end of this series. I always intended for it to be a trilogy anyway. Thank you for watching this final look at some of the silly things that scared me as a kid, and hopefully you related to, or at least learned about something new here today. Feel free to check out my previous 2 videos in this series, or tell me about your childhood trauma in the comments. I love hearing about the stuff that scared you as kids, however silly or obscure it may be. That's all for now though. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe out there, and good night.